Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here today. I am Serena, and if you don't already know, I am one half of Life After Union. We are two twin flames in union. We make these weekly videos to help you through your twin flame journey, your, of course, spiritual ascension, and then all kinds of different conscious relationship tools being shared here on this channel. So I want to take a moment to say thank you so much for tuning in. If you're joining me, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out our community. You can access a free 7-day trial if you're interested, but this is where people on a twin flame journey through their spiritual ascension come to gather. I like to call this like the seat belt for the twin flame journey. Like, you never know what might come up, and to have a community behind you to support you, where we meet on a bi-weekly basis. So every other week we're coming together, we're doing live meditation circles, we're doing live content circles. All this beautiful stuff is happening and unfolding in this community. So if you want to check it out, the resource is there for you. But today we have a very incredible topic that is very near to my heart, because it's something that I'm also moving through right now. And I don't know, you guys, if this has to do with eclipse season. There was something floating around that came into my field that was talking about eclipse season is going to shake you to the point where you're just uncomfortable enough to have to make the changes that you haven't been willing to make beforehand. So let me know if that resonates with you. I honestly can't remember where I saw or heard this information, but it was like, yeah, eclipse season is going to come and it's going to make us so deeply uncomfortable, but we have no choice but to make the changes that we've been needing to make. So with that being said, I want to bring up boundaries, because this is something that's been coming up in my immediate reality recently. So I'll tell you a few synchronicities. Our nanny came in today. We have her a couple days a week, and she came in today asking about my business and how I have money at the end of the day for myself. And our conversation, funny enough, about business came down to boundaries and not giving your power away and believing you're worthy. And so this is where the foundation of boundaries also comes from. Now, funny enough, also in my twin flame group coaching, we are approaching the part where like 3/4 of the way through the program, and we're approaching literally this week to talk about boundaries. Then with my own twin flame this week, we've had, you guessed it, boundaries coming up. So this has been in my immediate reality, so I thought it would be really beneficial for all of us. Even if you've studied or worked a lot on your boundaries, it's always a good idea to kind of recap or just revisit the subject, because it's one of those things that we might have a period of time where we're like really strong in our boundaries, and then as we get comfortable, or if you're very empathic and very compassionate like myself, you may find yourself being like, oh, well, it's okay to sacrifice here or sacrifice there, and then all of a sudden, without you realizing it, you feel like everybody's in your space, everyone's taking things from you. And it's not because everybody's taking things from you, it's because you haven't either set or followed through on your own boundaries. And so I want to talk about this specifically. You can see the fly flying around. I want to talk about this specifically from the lens of the twin flame journey. Now, because this journey is very psychic in nature, because this journey generally for most of us are very empathic, very spiritually attuned, very sensitive, very compassionate people, we usually struggle with our boundaries. I know for myself, I can give you like kind of a brief overview of my background. So I grew up in a family that was kind of narcissistic in nature. I was the only highly sensitive and empathic one. And I felt all the time like I was too much, right? Like I had too many needs. My needs weren't being met. There was no compassion for the amount of stimulus and like overload and overwhelm that I was processing on a regular basis. I felt like I was too sensitive. I felt weak. All of these things, right? And so come to find out later in my adult years that I'm highly sensitive and that I'm an empath, and that explains the bulk of what was going on for me in my early childhood. Now, that being said, you may have a similar scenario where you maybe had one or both narcissistic parents, maybe struggling with their own things, like struggling with infidelity in the marriage, or struggling with substance abuse, or struggling with various different things going on in the family dynamic, right? Maybe you had a brother or sister growing up that was really ill, or that was, kind of the center of attention in a way. But whatever that looks like, generally, this story goes like, we had to attune to these parents or to these caregivers, and we had to let go of parts of ourselves. And so we never actually learned what it was like to create healthy boundaries, because we didn't have those healthy boundaries with our parents, right? A lot of times, many of us, like myself, had the martyr mother, where she would do everything, burn herself out, burn herself to a crisp, and then be like, I did all of this for you, and what are you doing for me? Like when she's at the end of her string, which with 3 little kids, all within like 2 years of each other, I could understand that. But also at the same time, those healthy boundaries were not mirrored, or were not given a blueprint for us growing up. Now, with your twin flame, a lot of times scenarios will happen, and if you're watching this, it's probably because this is happening to you right now, or this has happened to you in the recent past. But a lot of scenarios will come up where your twin flame will have a problem, right? And we will instantly want to go into savior mode. I want to save them. I want to help them. I want to show them what they can do to make it better. And the one thing that we a lot of times miss is just to hold the frequency for them. Not every scenario is asking for you to swoop in and save them. Not every scenario is asking for you to really be present with them in that way. You don't, and oh my God, I had a client that said this the other day, literally to me in a voice note, said that she didn't want this person in her life to just be there with her. She wanted to just be able to accept it and be there herself and be okay with being there herself. And she didn't need this other person to actually sit with her in the darkness and hold her hand in the darkness. She needed to hold her own inner child's hand in the darkness. And so there's something very beautiful about setting these boundaries. And a lot of times as twin flames, we forget that if we don't set boundaries, we bleed ourselves dry. And then we're not actually even able to help anybody else. And again, the twin flame journey is so energetic in nature, right? That sometimes the best thing that you can do for your twin flame is to hold them in that frequency of you're going to get it. I believe in you, right? How many of us growing up had parents that were like, yeah, I believe in you. You got this. You can do this. No, it was let me fix this. Let me solve this problem. Let me help you. And it was from this anxious, not enough energy, not this proud, you got this, I believe in you, you can do this kind of thing, right? So I think this is a calling for all of us to revisit this topic, this theme of boundaries, and ask ourselves a couple questions. You want to ask yourself, where am I showing up for myself too much? Where am I showing up for myself not enough? Where am I showing up for others too much? Where am I showing up for others not enough, right? Because there's so many different facets of this. And as humans, because we're physical creatures, we like to show up for people in a physical way. Here, let me do the dishes for you. Let me pay for your lunch. Let me do this. Let me do that. Very masculine and very physical. Where sometimes we just need to take a step back and say energetically, emotionally, I support you. I love you. I'll hold you in that light, even if you can't hold yourself there, right? And this is the balance of the twin flame dynamic. And this has been happening in so funny as I'm seeing it in a infinity loop. But this has been happening between me and my twin with finances. 1 month, I will have zero money. For whatever reason, maybe it's an extra thing, maybe it's somebody canceled, maybe whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But I will have zero money. And my twin flame will come in, swoop, and save the day. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But then the next month comes, and he has zero money. And then I'm coming in and swooping in, saving the day, saying, oh, I can budget here, or I can shave this off here, or I can give you this, or I can give you that, right? And the thing that we haven't been doing for each other is saying, actually, I'm going to hold that to myself, and I'm going to trust that the universe is going to support you, right? It's like this kind of downward spiral of energy where it's like, oh, I'm going to save you. Now you're going to save me, and I'm going to save you. So that on the surface, we can egoically feel really good about ourselves. But the deeper level truth, for us at least, I can only speak from my own experience, and tell me if it in the comments if it resonates. The deeper level truth is it coming from a limited place. I'm going to save you so I can feel good about myself because I don't believe that you can save yourself. I don't believe that the universe is going to catch you. So let me catch you. Let me save you so I can seem like the hero. I can seem like the big person. Rather than letting you expand. Rather than letting you save yourself. Letting you feel pride in yourself. Let me save you, right? And this is how we ensnare people unconsciously, right? It's not usually a surface level manipulation tactic, but usually it's unconsciously. We think, oh, if I provide my value to them, then I'll become indispensable in their life. Then they will rely on me. They will never leave me, right? And it's this insidious egoic way of providing false senses of safety, right? Which is why it's coming from lack. Because the ego is like, oh, if I fill that void within them, then they will need me and they will never want me to leave. Rather than nurturing them to fill the void themselves, to look at why there's a void there to begin with, to look at why there's suffering and pain there to begin with, and to encourage them to fill that void themselves. That takes a lot of love and a lot of self-control. We don't want to see the ones we love suffer, obviously. We don't want to see the ones we love suffer. But when your twin flame is suffering, sometimes there's a deeper purpose. And the greatest thing on a soul expansion level, the greatest thing that you can do for them is to allow them to create their own tools, allow them to save themselves. Even if you have the answers, allow them to save themselves and to talk about it. Ask them, hey, I've learned a really good way of dealing with that. Do you want to know, right? And so much of this comes down to communication, because if you're in communication with your twin flame, it's not necessarily about sharing or withholding. It's about creating the dynamic together. And this is very practical, foundational, like twin flame energy dynamics, like on a 3D physical level, right? This is about communicating with them, giving them the free will. You have the consciousness. Maybe you have the answers for them. That's very possible. As twin flames, we often have the answers for our twin flame because we're mirrors and we're going through the same or similar things. So when your twin flame is struggling, you can say to them, hey, I've found a really interesting way that I've dealt with that. Do you want to know? And wait for their answer. They might want to figure it out for themselves, and then you have to let them and you have to grace them and say, wow, good job. I'll tell you something that happened the other day actually with Claire, our little baby. So she's almost 2 now. She's not a little baby anymore, but she's almost 2. And we were all sitting together as a family, and we were in the bath. So she was talking about her rubber duckies. And she was saying, oh, this ducky is sad. And I was like, why is this ducky sad? And she's like, oh, this ducky wants to come with. This ducky wants to go to work. And we're like, what do you mean this ducky wants to go to work? This ducky wants to go to work with mommy. And so we realized she was referencing herself through the ducks. And she was saying that she's sad when I do this, when I go to work. And I was so torn in that moment. I felt so many things. I cannot even, I haven't even finished processing them all right now. But the first thing I felt was pride. I felt so proud that she could communicate so well what she was feeling and what she thought about certain things. I felt so proud. And then, of course, my heart shattered because I was like, oh my God, am I hurting her by spending 18 hours a week working? Am I hurting her? Oh my God. And then I also felt so grateful that we were a safe enough space that she could share what was on her heart with us. And so those were the three main things. There was other emotions as well, but those were the three main emotions that I was like, wow, what do I do with all of this? Right? And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is you're going to feel the same way about your twin flame, about whatever they're going through, because it's the same unconditional love, right? You're going to feel this fear. When you let them figure it out themselves, you're going to feel this fear of like, oh my God, what if they don't need me? Or like, oh my God, what if they realize they're better off without me, right? All these activations are going to come up within you. But then there's going to be this pride of like, wow, they did that for themselves. They are amazing. That's what made me fall in love with them in the first place. And it's going to reignite all these different things within you. And it's also going to catalyze, if they can do that for themselves, imagine what I can do for myself. Right? So there's so many avenues to this twin flame setting boundary thing. And I just want to say it's very natural to want to swoop in and save the day for somebody you love. That's an incredibly natural, compassionate compulsion. We're meant to live in communities. We're meant to help each other. But the one thing I was talking about with our nanny today is I was talking about, when we help, we need to be helping from a place of access, right? If we're helping somebody and it's hurting us, if we're helping somebody and we don't actually have that to give, we're not actually helping. This is why the boundaries are so important. When you say, let me take care of myself, let me do X, Y, Z for me, and then whatever energy, time, resources, money, whatever I have left over at the end of the day, then goes to you. So you might be dealing, download. You might be dealing with this in many different facets of your twin flame relationship. So some of you are dealing with this when it comes to finances. One of you might be provider role, one of you might not be. And so this is where your boundaries are coming in, okay? Let me take care of everything I need to take care of for myself first, including fun things, right? Including nourishing myself, including taking myself out for a coffee or a massage. Then whatever I have left over from there, I can help you with, right? Or if not that, then I believe you can support yourself. I believe the universe will support you. I believe you can make a plan. You can do it. Maybe they're developing their masculine. You just need to hold that frequency for them that they can do it, right? So finances. A lot of this for you guys is coming up in emotional space because you are maybe at the integration point where you've worked through a lot of wounds. You've worked through a lot of, programs and complexes with your twin. Now is coming the integration point, and you're trying to figure out how much emotional space each one of you can take up. Because if there's triggering, right, that means emotions are coming to the surface. Space needs to be held. Things need to be solved, right? That being said, there's those of you that are working through that on an emotional level. Okay, I don't have the energy. Maybe I had a long day at work. I don't have the energy to hear about what's coming up for you emotionally, and you need to set that boundary. Okay, so I'm hearing those are the two main areas that most twin flames are working on right now, but it can display itself in a lot of other ways, like family stuff. If you've got family stuff between you and your twin flame, that's where boundaries need to be coming up. If it's, it can be even little tiny things like you used my soap or you ate my food, right? Like this can be super subtle energetically and physically, or it can be really big, like limiting beliefs, really big reprogrammings that are happening now. But just know if these boundaries issues are coming up for you in your relationship, it's not because you're failing. It's not because you're doing anything wrong. There's something going on in the collective right now that's causing this to come forward. I don't know exactly why it's coming forward. You might not know exactly why it's coming forward. But the point is that it's time for us to address this theme and start practicing again. So let me know what's been coming up for you in the comments down below. If you're looking for more support, check the links. You can always book a twin flame reading or join the community. We're having so much fun in this community. It's absolutely a joy and a blessing to me to be a part of this community. So join. You can get your free trial down below at 7 days, and then you can decide if the community is a vibe for you. But that being said, thank you so much for being here today. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video, and we'll see you soon. Big love. Bye.